The rise of SASE has eclipsed SD-WAN as organizations develop strategies and analyze products for secure access, but SD-WAN is still an essential component of SASE. In fact, sponsor Palo Alto Networks says SD-WAN is the most important component. So on today's Tech Bytes podcast, we talk with Palo Alto Networks about why SD-WAN underpins a SASE offering, and we're going to discuss SD-WAN capabilities you should keep in mind when evaluating a secure access services edge solution. My guest is Rajesh Kari, Senior Product Marketing Manager at Palo Alto Networks. Rajesh, welcome back to the podcast. And I guess you've been hearing some industry murmurings that SD-WAN isn't as relevant anymore. What are you hearing and what's your take?
That is true. With SASE, the evolution of SASE, we are hearing industries, some of our customers, how relevant is SD-WAN for my digital transformation? And that's exactly what I want to address in this podcast. For that, we need to face some of the realities. We are historically been very brand-centric. Pandemic changed it, but now we are back to normal. And that is evident in the stats. We, as Palo Alto Networks, are seeing a significant 50% or more growth in the branch traffic.
Okay.
What does it represent? More people are coming into the branches, and branches are becoming the core of all connectivity and access points for an organization, regardless of the industries, regardless of the use cases and the geos. The point here is, yes, branch is back in the conversation. It's imminent that the transformation of the branch should be the starting point for all digital transformation purposes, right? That'll be the first stepping stone towards a SASE strategy. That is the first thing to change or evolve to make your connectivity better and ensure that the user experience is available for all these applications, even the dynamic applications like SaaS and internet apps.
Okay, so that's interesting. You're saying you're seeing branch traffic growing, and SD-WAN is, very much focused on that branch transformation. So I guess, can you kind of talk about why then SD-WAN is so critical as a part of a broader SASE platform?
As part of the branch, let's see what the use cases for any end user has evolved to be. They're using the SaaS and the internet and the cloud applications more and more, which means that for a given organization, they should have the flexibility to connect to these applications in a very secure fashion. That's where SASE comes into play, right? You make the connection possible with SD-WAN, and now you provide that secure connectivity to all these applications, regardless of where these applications reside or it's hosted. What we do at Palo Alto Networks is we connect your branches, ensure that these branches talk to the closest proximity, low latency security nodes, which is our Prisma Access nodes. And that becomes, the access points for all these SaaS and internet apps. So which means the branch connectivity not only gets that SD-WAN intelligence, the traffic steering, the prioritizations, and also the kind of the failover situations, but now you're also ensured a low latency connection all the way till the app. And that's why when I mentioned that, SD-WAN becomes critical, and it's also a stepping stone towards your SASE strategy because you need SLA end-to-end, and that's exactly what SASE is aimed to provide.
Are you finding that SD-WAN is typically the way customers get into a SASE architecture?
It depends on their use cases, right? But as I mentioned, with the branches becoming more prominent, customers are seeing more problems arising at their branches. More users coming in on a daily basis, using more SaaS and internet applications, which are also becoming dynamic on a daily basis. There is an increased demand for bandwidth, but at the same time, these users are also keen on keeping that application experience. Why? On a daily basis, we are constantly on these productivity apps, whether it is real-time applications or some kind of a collaborative applications. So the requirements for the branches have changed. With branches coming back into a key critical part of the infrastructure, now more and more customers are adopting this strategy. They want this connectivity to be reliable. They want this connectivity to be foolproof for all applications. Then they want to secure it. So yes, as the branches become more prominent, we see SD-WAN being the first step of that strategization for any organization.
So to my mind, SASE, Secure Access Service Edge, is generally about putting security capabilities securities into the cloud, in part to simplify having to deploy and operate security appliances or security features at physical sites. But SD-WAN is all about bringing those physical sites into a network. So what does SD-WAN bring to the table in terms of security? And do I really need that if I've got my, like my firewalling, my secure web gateway, my CASB, and all of that up in the cloud?
Well, we are seeing more and more customers going towards a cloud approach. There are three main reasons. One, having this massive distributed security apparatus or architecture in the cloud makes a huge difference in terms of connectivity and also performance. As I mentioned, a branch which is in North America or JPAC or EMEA makes more sense to connect to their own security nodes to access all the applications. That's where the performance really makes a difference, right? And at the same time, what we have to be aware or what the organizations need to ensure is all the security nodes should be equipped with similar advanced security capabilities. Just because I am in a different geo doesn't mean that my application access needs to be compromised because that security node does not have certain capabilities. So every single security node should be equipped with the same security capabilities, literally a replica of each other, becoming this massive backbone, which enables this high performance access. So then that's number two, right? And finally, the operation. Typically, we have seen NOC and the SOC team, they live in their own worlds, try to troubleshoot and resolve issues on a daily basis, just focus on these two areas. But in reality, that's not how things work. The connectivity has to go hand in hand with the securing these connectivities, also the application access. So when a problem arises, you cannot have two different entities trying to chase the same problem with different mindsets. They should be looking at a single console. They should be looking at the same set of configurations. They should be looking at the same data to analyze and resolve these issues. So that's exactly what SASE delivers with SD-WAN and net security integrated.
Okay, because I'm integrating my networking with the SD-WAN, with the security elements, with the SSE part, the cloud delivered security, and I can surface all the relevant information to whichever side of the IT department needs to see it, is what you're telling me.
That's correct. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. With a fragmented solution, let's take the use cases, right? When I talk to customers, they typically say, like, I have a single issue. By the time I narrow it down, I'm on 6 different support calls to 6 different vendors. And in order to say that this is the root cause, there's constantly like, have we verified this? Have we looked into this different set of data? How does this data go together with another set of data? Most of the time, these data exist somewhere in the cloud, somewhere in the data center, and they have different parameters which don't even correlate. So it's pretty much like one of my customers said, finding a needle in a haystack, right? But with that single console, which SASE provides, which our Prisma SASE provides to our customers, imagine single applications from a single user in a given branch having a user experience issue or application outage. All the IT admin has to do is drill down from our single console on a user basis. For a given user, they can exactly see what was the path that was taken for the application. And in every individual hop, like it's exiting out of its branch network, it's exiting out of the service provider, it is exiting out of the cloud, all the way to the application server. They can identify, we have already identified what is going wrong. There has been a bandwidth degradation. There has been a service outage. There has been an application outage. There has been a security incident identified by our cloud delivered security. So they can literally have all of them in a single screen, drill down and find out what is causing that issue. That's exactly what works for our customers. And when we talk to our customers, when we show them in live action using our product, they are like, this is exactly what we need. And Drew, recently we also did our AI launch where we talked about our Copilot. The Copilot is even more significant because, imagine how traditionally issues were addressed. Someone comes to the office at 8 o'clock, they identify an issue or they experience an issue, they raise a trouble ticket with the IT help desk. Now the help desk starts reacting. The help desk doesn't usually react, they just document and send it to an expert. But what if the help desk themselves are able to go and query like what is happening across this particular branch site? Mm-hmm. Why is this particular application being degraded? And he has a response right there. That's exactly what Copilot provides, right? The first level of support themselves can narrow down what the issue is and get a quick response to the employee or the customer or any user in the organization. More importantly, imagine someone like a CXO, CIO, or a CISO. They want to go and see how is my infrastructure performing. We can provide them using the Copilot, using a single console. We can give the entire visibility. The CIO can say, my branch sites at America are doing great for a certain application. My JPAC are poorly performing because of a service provider issue. Uh-huh. My EMEA is doing great, but is lacking certain bandwidth limitations, which I need to plan for. So from a CXO, think about it. You are actively creating the plan to address these issues. So if there is a budget requirements in EMEA for more bandwidth, yep, that gets done. If there is a better service provider connectivity needed for your JPAC sites, that is taken care of. So it's not just reacting and creating a plan based on the issues that you're facing, but rather proactively taking investment decisions that will enable a very smooth process for all organizations.
So you're saying with this Copilot feature, an executive who may not be, into the console all that much can sort of show up and use a natural language query to get some information on general performance and see, in EMEA, it looks like bandwidth is an issue. So maybe the next time, we're having a budget meeting, I need to start thinking about allocating for more bandwidth for this region.
Absolutely. That's exactly what the intent of Copilot is. And that you made a great point, that natural language, right? Which means not everyone has to be an expert. Mm-hmm. Not everyone has to have that deep dive knowledge into how the enterprise is being connected. For them, all they want to know is, I know there is a branch site in EMEA and I want to see the performance. I know there is a widespread security breach or an incident. I want to see if my enterprise is being secured. Is we already being addressed and these threats are blocked across my organizations. There's been no impact or outage because of it. So this is the power of that natural language, which anyone can use with minimal expertise and without even having a sound knowledge of the entire enterprise.
Yeah, definitely useful for a help desk in that executive example. Yep. I want to wrap up on this question. So I think when people are thinking about SASE, they may spend a lot of time evaluating that cloud security portion of it because it's so important, but we also want to emphasize SD-WAN is still important. So when they're thinking about that SD-WAN component, what are some things they should keep in mind when they're looking at SASE solutions on the SD-WAN side?
Great question. So the first thing that anyone should be aware of is how easy it is to onboard your SASE, right? It brings back to the importance of SD-WAN. With our Prisma SD-WAN, it's a seamless process to onboard your security services, which also means that your branch sites are quickly deployed. And since we use single policy for both networking and security, your provisioning is also happening rapidly. So instead of bringing, say, if it's a brand new branch or an existing branch, or you're in the process of doing an acquisition and mergers, it's a matter of minutes for our customers. And because this single configuration or a single policy is being used across the network and security constructs, it's easy to get the visibility. It's easy to do change management. And it's also extremely simple to get granular insights into how these applications and user access are being done. So overall, if you see the easy onboarding process, the rapid provisioning process, and finally that quick resolution process is what makes SD-WAN a great starting point for a SASE strategy.
Okay, one more bonus question before we wrap. There are different approaches to SASE. You can do a mix and match. You can get your SD-WAN and your SSE from different folks. Obviously, Palo Alto Networks supports both approaches, but Rajesh, you also feel like you can make a case for the single vendor approach.
So let's think about the single vendor approach, right? If you're using a dual vendor or a multi-vendor approach, there's always going to be separate data sets, separate consoles, separate set of challenges to go through. With a single vendor, with our vision of delivering the platformization, it's an easy procurement process. You're dealing with just a single vendor for all your support cases, upgrades, maintenance. But most importantly, as a solution, you're looking at one data set, whether it is for networking, security, user experience. So that one single data set is what allows leveraging AI ML for all kinds of purposes, whether it is insights, visibility, automated remediation, and also enabling a lot of automation techniques to be incorporated or Gen AI techniques to be incorporated to simplify infrastructure leaders' life. So that is very, very key for any organizations who's looking for transforming with the power of AI. And that's exactly what we said during our AI launch. So please do take a look. We've done a fantastic video with Keanu Reeves. It's a game changer for any of our customers.
All right. Well, thank you, Rajesh. That does bring us to the end of the episode. If you want to get more details about SASE and SD-WAN from Palo Alto Networks, you can go to paloaltonetworks.com/SASE/SD-WAN. We'll have that link and others in the show notes that accompany this episode. Thanks, Rajesh, for joining us. And thanks to Palo Alto Networks for being a longtime sponsor of Packet Pushers. Sponsors make it possible for us to bring you free technical podcasts, blogs, videos, and more, all for your professional development. Speaking of which, you can find this and many more fine free technical podcasts and our community blog. It's all at packetpushers.net. You can hear us on Spotify, leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts, connect with us on LinkedIn. And last but not least, remember that too much networking would never be enough.